Black woman fell for her best friend's brother, but he has a dark secret. Camila Michael had always believed dreams came in soft colors, warm sunlight slipping between curtains, the familiar hum of home, the laughter of her mother in the kitchen. But the moment her flight descended into Seoul, her dreams became neon-lit and fast, wrapped in the electric pulse of a city she'd only known through dramas and fantasies. Scholarship in hand. Suitcase full of hope. Heart full of adventure. She never expected trouble to be waiting on the other side of the airport doors. Jaeun waved frantically the moment she spotted Camila. Camila. Over here. Her best friend from their online Korean exchange group, energetic, tiny, and bright as a firecracker. 12 hours, Camila groaned, hugging her tightly. My soul is tired. You can rest at my house. It's big. Too big. My mom's in the countryside and my brother, well, she paused. What about your brother? Camila asked, picking up her suitcase handle. Jaeun smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. You won't see him much. He's always gone. The house that whispered secrets. Their home in Seoul wasn't just big, it was intimidatingly beautiful. Dark wood. High ceilings. Shadows in the corners that seemed to flinch away from light. Camila shivered. Your house looks like it has a secret library with cursed books. Oh, it has a library, Jaeun said cheerfully. But my brother said not to go in. Why? Another pause. Just don't. They ate ramen, unpacked, talked until Jaeun's eyelids drooped, and then she left early the next morning for her campus club meeting. Camila, still jet-lagged and confused about the house's layout, woke up needing the bathroom. She walked down the hallway barefoot, yawning, rubbing her eyes, and opened the wrong door. The man behind the wrong door. At first she thought the room was empty. Dark curtains blocked most of the light. Then she saw him. Lying in bed. Sheets low on his waist. Chest bare. A carved jawline she could have sworn was sketched by God on his most boastful day. Choi Tae-hyun. Jaeun's brother. Except nothing, not one photo Jaeun had ever shown, prepared her for this. His hair was messy, slightly damp, like he'd just stepped out of a shower before collapsing into bed. His breathing was slow, the kind that belonged to a man who didn't get enough sleep, yet moved through life with discipline. Then his eyelids lifted. Dark eyes, sharp, dangerous, awake far too quickly. He didn't bolt up in surprise. He assessed her, slowly, calmly, like a man used to unexpected things showing up at his door. Wrong door? His morning voice was low, gravelly, almost sinful. Camila's brain malfunctioned. Oh my God, yes. Wrong, totally wrong, door, sorry. She backed up so hard she hit the hallway wall. But his eyes stayed locked on hers the entire time. Heavy, piercing, a little amused, and something else, something that made her breath catch. Interest. He, claiming something he hadn't even touched yet. His presence lingered. At breakfast, Camila tried to act like she hadn't just seen a man sculpted from sin itself. Jaeun handed her kimchi and rice. So, first night in Korea. How was it? Camila nodded aggressively. Great. Perfect. Fantastic. Loved it. Amazing house. Very nice walls. Good doors. Normal doors. Jaeun blinked. Are you okay? No. Before Jaeun could pry, footsteps echoed from the stairs. Slow. Measured. Commanding. Camila tensed. He appeared, Choi Tae-hyun, fully dressed now, black shirt, rolled sleeves, expression unreadable. But his eyes went straight to her. Not accidentally. Not subtly. Direct. Purposeful. Like he remembered every detail of how she looked standing in his doorway. Jaeun sighed loudly. Appa be nice. This is my best friend from Nigeria. She's staying with us. His gaze didn't shift. I know. That deep voice again. Camila swallowed. Jaeun leaned closer and whispered, remember rule number 1, never date my brother. I'm serious. Camila nodded, but her eyes betrayed her. Because Taehyun hadn't stopped staring. And the worst part? Her heartbeat wasn't scared. It was curious, awake, dangerously alive. The first week in the Choi household taught Camila something important. Taehyun wasn't just quiet. He was studying her. His presence wrapped around the house like a shadow, silent, invisible, yet constantly felt. He never tried to start conversations, but somehow, he always appeared when she did something he didn't approve of. And she was starting to realize there were many, many things he did not approve of. The first rule. It happened on a Thursday night. Jaeun had invited Camila to her university's welcome party. Camila knew nothing about Seoul nightlife, but she was excited. She finally felt like she belonged somewhere. She put on a short black dress, the one she brought for special occasions. Not too revealing but flattering. Tasteful. Pretty. She smoothed her hair in the mirror. Her reflection smiled back, a mix of nerves and excitement. Then the bedroom door slid open. She turned and nearly dropped her lipstick. Taehyun was standing there, leaning against the frame, dressed in all black. His shirt clung to him like it was tailored to his heartbeat. He had a silver watch and his hair was styled back in that effortless, dangerous way. But his eyes traveled down her body slowly. Too slowly. Where? He asked, voice low. Are you going dressed like that? Camila blinked. Out? With Jaehoon. No. She laughed. No? I wasn't asking for permission. He stepped into the room. Not close, but close enough that she felt his heat. Change the dress. Why would I change? Do I look bad? That's the problem, he snapped quietly. You look very, very good. Too good. Her breath caught. You can't go out looking like that alone. I'm not alone. I'm going with Jaehoon. That girl gets drunk on orange juice, he muttered. She's not protection. She folded her arms. I don't need protection. He looked at her as if she'd said something naive, something dangerous. In Korea, he murmured, a woman who looks like you walking alone at night is asking for trouble. His tone softened on the last word. Not gentle, but warning. She swallowed. Well, I'll take a taxi. His jaw tensed. Camila, he said, voice dropping dangerously low, change the dress. Her heart fluttered with irritation and something else she didn't want to name. Fine, she said. I'll put a jacket on. That muscle in his jaw ticked again. But he let her pass. Barely. The second rule. Downstairs, Jaehoon was still getting ready. Camila grabbed a water bottle from the fridge while Taehyun hovered nearby like a storm cloud. What now? She asked. No drinking. She nearly choked. Excuse me? You heard me. You're not my father. No, he said, eyes dark and steady, I'm worse. And that's supposed to convince me? I don't need to convince you. I'm telling you. She stared at him, disbelief mixing with an unwelcome warmth in her stomach. What exactly is your problem with me going out? He exhaled through his nose, a slow, controlled release of something sharp. My problem, he murmured, stepping closer, is that other men will look at you. Her pulse stuttered. So I don't like it. Her mouth parted. Words failed her. This was insanity. It was inappropriate. It was possessive. And it made her skin tingle. The party. They left anyway. Jaehoon hadn't heard the conversation, too busy texting the party group chat. As they walked out, Camila felt the weight of Taehyun's gaze on her back. At the curb, he appeared again, quiet, unexpected, watching as they got into the taxi. His eyes locked on Camila through the window. And something in his stare said, don't make me come after you. Inside the party. Music thumped. Lights flashed. Students danced everywhere. But Camila wasn't fully present. Her mind kept replaying his voice. I don't like other men looking at you. What did that even mean? Was he jealous? Overprotective? Or simply controlling? None of the answers made sense. Yet she kept touching the spot on her wrist where he'd almost grabbed her earlier. Almost. As if he was holding himself back from something he desperately wanted. The third rule broken. A guy approached her near the drink table. Tall. Smiling. Easygoing. Hey, he said, you're new here, right? Camila smiled politely. Yeah. First week. I'm Minjun. Want to dance? Before she could answer, her phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. Don't dance with him. Her heart stopped. Another message followed seconds later. I'm outside. She swallowed hard. Sorry, she told Minjun. I need a moment. She pushed through the crowd, stepped outside, and found him. Taehyun. Leaning against a sleek, black car, suit jacket off, sleeves rolled, hands in pockets. Watching her like he already knew she would come. What are you doing here? She asked, half breathless, half terrified. He pushed off the car and walked toward her. You broke the rules. I didn't drink, I didn't smoke. You entertained another man. I talked to him, she shot back. That's not a crime. It is to me. Her pulse thudded. You don't own me, Taehyun. He stepped closer, close enough that she felt his breath on her cheek. No, he whispered. But I want to. Her knees went weak. And deep down she knew. This wasn't about rules. It was about control, desire, possession, and danger. A danger she couldn't resist. Camila had never been the type to attract drama. She minded her business, lived quietly, stayed out of trouble. But trouble wasn't avoiding her. Trouble was following her. Trouble had a name. Choi Taehyun. The party that turned into a storm. Inside the party, the energy was electric. Flashing lights, music so loud it vibrated in her bones, students dancing with carefree abandon. It was the type of freedom she thought she'd come to Korea for. But she felt the tension under her skin. That message from him, those few words, echoed louder than the music. Don't dance with him. I'm outside. It made no sense. He wasn't her boyfriend. He wasn't even her friend. He was her best friend's older brother. A man she barely knew. Yet, she felt him everywhere. She grabbed a cup of juice and tried to breathe. Maybe he was bluffing. Maybe he wasn't actually. Hey. Minjun again. Easy smile, friendly, harmless. You okay? You rushed out earlier. I'm fine, she said quickly. Just getting some air. You want to dance now? Nothing intense. Just fun. And she almost said yes. Almost. But something told her she wasn't alone. She scanned the room. Nothing. Then, a shadow at the far end of the hallway. Someone tall. Still. Watching. Her heart dropped. Taehyun, she whispered. But the figure was gone as quickly as it appeared. The dance that got her in trouble. She told herself she was overreacting. So she joined Minjun. Just one dance. Just two friends. Just fun. But as the song shifted into a slower beat, Minjun's hand slid to her waist. Camila froze. Is this okay? He asked gently. She opened her mouth to say something, but the music cut out abruptly. The lights flickered. A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd. And then she felt it. A wave of energy. Cold. Piercing. Predatory. She turned. Students were parting instinctively, creating a path. And down that path walked a man in a black suit, expression unreadable, eyes locked entirely only on her. Choi Taehyun. Her stomach plummeted. He didn't acknowledge the crowd. He didn't scan the room. He didn't blink. He was walking to her. Every step calculated. Every breath measured. Every inch of him radiating fury held barely in check. When he reached them, Minjun stepped back instinctively. Taehyun didn't even look at him. His attention was on Camila alone. Outside, he said softly. Softly but dangerously. It wasn't a request. The confrontation outside. The moment the door shut behind them, Camila spun on him. What are you doing here? Are you stalking me? No. His jaw tightened. I'm protecting you. I didn't ask for protection. You don't have to ask. His voice was deadly calm. Too calm. Bands of tension wrapped around her ribs, making it hard to breathe. You embarrassed me, she said, voice shaking. You stormed into a college party like you own the building. I don't own the building, he said. His eyes darkened. I own the man who runs it. She blinked. What does that? Camila. His voice dropped lower. I told you not to dance with him. You don't get to tell me what to do. He took a slow, icy step closer. Look me in the eye, he said quietly, and tell me you didn't feel something when I saw you with him. Her breath stilled. You're imagining things, she whispered. His eyes flashed. A dangerous spark. He moved closer until the heat of him pressed against her skin, until she could smell his cologne, dark, clean, addictive. Am I? He murmured. She swallowed hard. You're jealous? She accused, voice barely audible. No, he said. Jealousy is too weak a word. His fingers brushed her wrist, barely, yet the touch sent a shock through her body. I don't want other men touching you, he whispered. Looking at you. Standing close to you. That's not your decision. No. His gaze lowered to her lips. It's not. Then he leaned in, his voice hot against her ear. It's my instinct. Her knees trembled. And that, he whispered, is far more dangerous. The moment that broke her defenses. Why? She breathed. Why do you care? He lifted her chin gently, forcing her eyes to meet his. Because, he said slowly, like a confession dragged from deep inside him. The moment you walked into my room. I haven't been able to look away. Her heart dropped to her stomach. Taehyun. He shook his head, silencing her. You think I'm jealous? He murmured. But jealousy is small. Ordinary. Human. His hand slowly slid down her arm, stopping at her wrist again. What I feel. He swallowed. Is possession. Her breath came out in a shaky whisper. You don't own me. His eyes softened, not with kindness but with hunger. No, he admitted. But I want to. And the terrifying, exhilarating truth hit her like lightning. Part of her wanted him to, too. Camila thought she had Taehyun all figured out, cold, possessive, irritatingly attractive, and bossy for no reason. But that night, she saw another man. A man who bled. A man who broke. A man who shouldn't have wanted her, yet couldn't seem to stay away. The night everything shifted. The clock hit 1:23 a.m. when she heard the front door slam. Not gently. Not quietly. A violent, frustrated slam that rattled the picture frames on the wall. Camila froze. She wasn't supposed to be awake. But the sound dragged her from her bed like a magnet. The lights were off downstairs. The house felt colder than usual, a silence so heavy it felt like someone had dropped grief into the air. She crept down carefully. At first she didn't see him. Then she did. Taehyun was sitting on the couch, elbows on his knees, chest rising and falling like he'd run a marathon. Black shirt torn. Knuckles bruised, bleeding. A faint cut on his cheekbone. He didn't move. Didn't flinch. He just stared at the floor like something terrifying was replaying in his mind. Camilla's heart squeezed painfully. She should have walked away. Given him space. Listened to Jaeun's warning. But she didn't. She stepped closer. Taehyun. He lifted his head slowly. When his eyes met hers, she felt the world tilt. Gone was the arrogant, possessive, unshakable Mafia boss. Sitting there was a man exhausted down to the bone. A man carrying weight no one should carry alone. He looked breakable. And that scared her more than anything. A touch that crossed a line. "You're hurt," she whispered. "It's nothing." Every time he said that, it was always something. She knelt beside him, reaching for his hand. He pulled away slightly, instinctively, like someone not used to being touched without reason. "You don't have to," he said quietly. "I want to." Those 3 words changed everything. He let her take his hand. His skin was warm, rougher than she expected. A man who fought too often, who lived in the shadows too long. His knuckles were split open, crusted with dried blood. Camila grabbed the first aid kit from the cabinet and returned. He watched her silently, eyes fixed on the way her fingers handled the bandages. "Who did this?" she asked softly. He hesitated. "Someone who needed a reminder," he finally said. "That violence isn't a reminder," she whispered. "It's a warning." His jaw clenched. Sometimes warnings are necessary. Her hands trembled slightly, whether from fear or something else she didn't know. But she kept cleaning his wounds carefully. "You shouldn't get hurt," she said. "I'm used to it." "You shouldn't be." Something flickered in his eyes. "And you shouldn't be here at this hour," he murmured. "In front of me. Touching me like this." "Why?" "Because I don't have control right now." Her breath hitched. His voice, low, rough, sincere, slipped under her skin. "And when I lose control." He swallowed, eyes darkening. "I do things I shouldn't." The moment they crossed the line, she should have stepped back, stopped touching him, walked away. Instead, she brushed her thumb gently across his cheek, wiping away the tiny smear of dried blood. His breath stopped. He caught her wrist, not to stop her but to hold it against his skin. His hand tightened, warm, desperate. "Camila," he whispered. Her name sounded like a prayer he wasn't supposed to say. She stared into his eyes and saw it. A storm he couldn't hide anymore. Pain, fear, yearning. Slowly he leaned in. He didn't kiss her at first. He just rested his forehead against hers, breathing her in, like her nearness alone was enough to steady him. "This is wrong," he murmured. His breath trembled. "I shouldn't want you." Her lips grazed his as she whispered back, "Then don't." A lie. A challenge. A plea. His hand slid to the back of her neck. And then, he kissed her. Not soft. Not hesitant. But deep. Consuming. 6 months of suppressed desire unleashed in a single moment. Camila melted into him, fingers gripping his shirt, heartbeat syncing with his. He smelled like danger and cologne and something heartbreakingly human. He pulled back only when they were both breathless. His forehead pressed to hers again. "This shouldn't have happened," he said quietly. "I know. We can't do it again." She nodded. But then he kissed her again. Longer. Slower. Like he already knew they were lying. Their lips parted but their connection didn't. "This is going to ruin us," she whispered. His thumb brushed her jaw. "Then let it." Camila had always known something was wrong with this house. Not the architecture. Not the silence. Not even Taehyun's unpredictable moods. It was the shadows. They moved strangely here. Followed strangely. Watched strangely. And tonight they showed their teeth. A house too quiet. Ever since the kiss. The kiss that wasn't supposed to happen but did twice. The kiss that still burned on her lips. Taehyun had disappeared. 3 days. No footsteps in the hallway. No voice drifting from the kitchen. No brooding presence in the living room. He was gone. And Jaeun was worried too, but she covered it with fake enthusiasm. "Appa always travels," she said. "He'll be back." But her eyes darted away. Her fingers shook. She wasn't telling the whole truth. Camila felt it deep in her bones. Something was off. The wrong sound in the wrong place. The house was quiet that evening. Too quiet. Jaeun had gone to study with friends. Camila stayed behind to write an essay, but her focus shattered when she heard it. A muffled yell. Mel. Pain. Coming from downstairs. Her blood turned cold. Maybe she imagined it. Maybe it was the TV from next door. Maybe. There it was again. A choked, strangled sound. Not imagination. Not a TV. Not normal. Camila followed the sound through the hallway, unsure why curiosity outweighed fear. Her footsteps slowed as she reached a door she'd never seen open before. A basement door. One Jaeun had never mentioned. One Taehyun had never spoken of. The yelling grew louder. Her heart hammered as she pressed her palm against the door. Unlocked. Her throat closed. Don't do this. Turn back. Call someone. But she opened it. The descent. The basement stairs were made of concrete. Cold. Industrial. Wrong for a family home. As she stepped down, the smell hit her. Metallic. And sharp. Blood. Her stomach flipped. Light flickered at the bottom, harsh, white fluorescence buzzing like dying bees. And then she heard voices. Oh. Menacing. Familiar. Taehyun's voice. Camila froze on the last step. She didn't want to go forward. But her legs betrayed her. She stepped into the basement. And her world shattered. The secret. There were 3 men in the room. 2 of them she'd never seen, big, masked, intimidating. The third. Taehyun. Still in his black suit. Tie gone. Sleeves rolled up. Jaw like a blade. Blood splattered his shirt. He stood over a man tied to a chair, bruised and bleeding. The man begged in Korean, sobbing, pleading for mercy. Taehyun didn't move. He just stared at the man like he wasn't a person. Like he was a problem. A stain. A mistake. Camila's breath hitched loud enough for him to hear. His head whipped toward her instantly. And everything froze. The moment he saw her. Camila. Her name wasn't a question. It was a curse. He moved so fast she stumbled back. He grabbed her shoulders before she could fall. What are you doing here? His voice was razor-sharp, panicked, furious, terrified. I heard something, she whispered. I didn't know this, I didn't know you. He exhaled shakily. A sound full of anger and something much deeper. You weren't supposed to see this. She pushed against his chest, shaking. This man, you're hurting him. What is happening? Taehyun, what is this? He closed his eyes briefly. A pained expression washed over him. I told you, he said, voice low and raw. I'm not someone you should love. Her breath broke. Love? She whispered. Who said anything about love? You did, he said softly, eyes burning into hers. Every time you looked at me. Her heart cracked open. Is this who you are? She asked, voice trembling with fear and betrayal. A criminal? He swallowed hard. No, he said. I am the criminal. The words hit like a slap. Not a criminal. The criminal. The one people whispered about. The ghost of Seoul's underworld. The man every gang feared. Camila stumbled back, tears burning her eyes. Why didn't you tell me? Because you would have left, he rasped. I should leave, she said, voice barely audible. His jaw clenched so tight she thought it might break. But you won't, he whispered. You came down here. Her knees buckled, fear, confusion, heartbreak crashing into her all at once. He caught her before she fell, pulling her against his chest with a desperation she'd never seen in him before. I didn't want you to know, he said, voice shaking. I wanted just for once, something good. Something pure. She pushed weakly at him, but he didn't let go. Taehyun, she cried softly, what else have you lied about? He rested his forehead on hers, breath uneven. Everything, he whispered. Except how I feel about you. Camila barely slept after the almost kiss in the hallway. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt Taehyun's breath ghost against her cheek again. His hand on the wall beside her head. His voice, tell me you don't want me. She hadn't been able to tell him anything. And now she was paying for it. Taunting fate. The next morning, Taehyun was gone before sunrise. Jiun was unusually bubbly over breakfast, rambling about an exam, oblivious to the way Camila's heart was still slamming against her ribs, replaying last night on a loop. When Jiun finally rushed out the door, Camila let out a shaky breath, alone in the kitchen, until she felt it. That prickling heat. She turned. He was leaning in the doorway, silent, watching. His white dress shirt sleeves were rolled to the elbow, exposing looping ink along his veins. His eyes were unreadable, not cold, not warm, but dangerous in a slow, simmering way. Morning. Her voice cracked. He didn't answer. He only stepped closer, every movement unhurried, measured, like a predator who knew his prey wasn't running. Without speaking, he reached past her and took the mug she was holding. His fingers brushed hers, lightly, deliberately. You didn't sleep. It wasn't a question. No, she whispered. His jaw ticked. You're thinking too much. Because of you, she wanted to say. Instead, about what happened last night. His eyes hardened. It shouldn't have happened. Her heart dropped, until he leaned down, lips almost at her ear. But it will happen again. A shiver rippled through her. He stepped away before she could speak, grabbing his keys. Listen carefully. His tone sharpened. Don't leave the house today. Why? Because I said so, he said as if that explained everything. And then he was gone, leaving her with nothing but questions, and a heartbeat that wouldn't calm. A message she was never meant to see. By afternoon, the walls of the penthouse felt too quiet. She paced, tried studying, tried cleaning. Nothing helped. Every soft sound made her think he was back. When her phone buzzed on the sofa, she assumed it was Jaeun. But it wasn't a text. It was a notification from Taehyun's tablet, left on the table. It had synced. And the preview said, "We found her. Bring the girl." Camila froze. Girl. Who were they talking about? Her pulse spiked. Curiosity, fear, instinct, they all collided. She shouldn't open it. She really shouldn't. She opened it anyway. A group message from unknown numbers. Encrypted. Cold. "Boss, do you want us to extract the target quietly? The black girl is alone." Her vision blurred. They were talking about her. Her hands shook as she scrolled. "If we take her now, Choi Taehyun will come running." What? Then. Use her as leverage. Force him to hand over the ledger. The ledger. She didn't know what that was, but they clearly thought she was important enough to threaten him with. Her knees buckled. Was this his dark secret? Was this why he didn't want her outside? Why he kept controlling everything, who she talked to, where she went? Because the world outside wasn't just dangerous. It was dangerous because of him. She slammed the tablet shut, breathing hard. And then, a sound behind her. A door unlocking. She spun, panic flooding her veins, only to find Taehyun stepping in, his expression sharp, tense, like he'd been fighting with the world itself. He stopped when he saw her face. "What happened?" His voice was low, lethal. She pointed at the tablet. I saw your messages." For the first time since she'd known him, something like shock flickered across his features. Then it was gone. "They're watching me," she whispered. "And they're watching me." "Yes," he said. She recoiled. No explanation? No apology? No anything? His eyes softened, barely. "You were never supposed to see that. That's all you have to say? Taehyun, someone wants to kidnap me because of you." His jaw clenched so hard the muscle twitched. "That's why I told you to stay inside. That's why I made rules. That's why." "That's not protecting me," she snapped. "That's locking me up." He stepped closer. "That's keeping you alive." A truth he didn't want to say. She backed away. "You said you had secrets," she said, voice cracking. "But you didn't tell me I was part of them." He inhaled sharply. "You became part of them the second you walked into this house." Silence. Then, her voice barely a whisper. "Because I'm Jiun's friend? Or because you wanted me for yourself?" Something in him snapped. He grabbed her wrist, not hard but firm enough that she felt the tremor in his fingers. "Don't twist this," he warned. "Then tell me why," she demanded. His breath hitched. His eyes dropped to her lips. She felt the answer before he said it. "You know why." A hot, suffocating pause. Then she whispered, "Say it." He did. "Because I can't stay away from you." The almost confession. He let go of her wrist but only to cup her jaw instead. His forehead pressed to hers. His voice was raw. "They want to use you against me. They think you're my weakness." "Am I?" she breathed. "Yes." Her heart stopped. "Taehyun." "But I'm not letting anything happen to you," he continued. "Not while I'm breathing." The world went quiet. He leaned in, closer, lips almost touching. A loud crash erupted outside the penthouse door. A shout. Running footsteps. Taehyun froze. His eyes darkened instantly, flipping from vulnerable to deadly. He pulled away, grabbed a gun from the drawer, and loaded it with a calmness that terrified her more than the danger outside. He turned to her. "Camila." His voice dropped, deep, urgent, soft. "Whatever you hear, whatever happens, don't open this door." Her breath shook. "Taehyun." "We're not done talking," he said. "Not even close." He stepped into the hallway, shutting the door behind him. Camila pressed her palms to the wood, trembling. Outside. A gunshot. Then another. Then silence. And all she could think was, Taehyun's dark secret didn't just involve danger. It was coming for them now. The gunshots echoed long after the hallway fell silent. Camila stood frozen with her hands pressed against the door, her heartbeat slamming wildly against her ribs as the smell of gunpowder drifted faintly under the crack. "Taehyun, please be okay." She didn't know how long she stood there, seconds, minutes, hours, before the lock clicked again. Camila stepped back, breath trembling violently. The door opened, and Cho Taehyun stepped in. His white shirt was splattered with blood. Not his, she saw that first, felt it deep in her bones. But someone else's. His expression was still in that terrifying half-state, sharp, cold, focused. His gun hung loosely at his side, but his knuckles were white from gripping it. He shut the door behind him. For a long moment he didn't speak, and neither did she. Finally his voice, hoarse low. "Are you hurt?" Camila shook her head. He exhaled, something like relief buried under exhaustion. But she couldn't move. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't look away from the blood dripping down his arm. "Taehyun." Her voice cracked. "What happened?" He placed the gun on the counter, then turned to her. "They came for you." Her stomach dropped. "Because of this ledger? This Mafia war you're in?" He didn't deny it. He just stepped closer, slowly, as if approaching a frightened animal. She didn't realize she was shaking until he touched her cheek with fingers still trembling from adrenaline. She flinched. He froze. And for the first time since she'd known him, Choi Taehyun looked hurt. "I scared you," he whispered. She didn't answer. "You're scared of me." "Taehyun," she whispered, "I don't know who you are." His secret unmasked. He stepped back, not far but enough to stop himself from reaching for her again. Then, slowly, like peeling back armor he had worn his whole life, he told her the truth. "All my life, people have tried to control me," he said. "My father. His enemies. The police. Politicians. Everyone." He looked at his blood-stained hands. "I became the monster they wanted. A weapon. A leader. A name that made grown men tremble." Camila swallowed hard. She'd seen glimpses of him, cold, furious, possessive, but never this. He looked up. "When June brought you here, I tried to pretend you were just her friend. But you weren't." His voice softened dangerously. "You were the one thing I wanted that I had no right to want." Camila's chest tightened. "Taehyun. I tried to stay away. I tried to push you away. But every day you were here, laughing, cooking, humming under your breath." His voice dropped. "I started to feel human again." Her breath caught. "But the men outside," he continued, "they want me dead. And the ledger is the only leverage I have. And they think they can reach me through you." Camila felt the weight of his next words coming, heavy and irreversible. He stepped closer. "You're my weakness, Camila." Her pulse stuttered. "And they will kill you to get to me." The choice that wasn't a choice. The room felt smaller, hotter, like she was breathing the same burning air he was. "But I didn't ask to be part of this," she whispered. He nodded slowly. "I know. And you didn't tell me." "I couldn't." His voice broke for the first time. "Because if you knew, you would have run." He swallowed. "And that would have destroyed me." Camila pressed a shaking hand to her forehead. "So what now? I can't stay here like a prisoner. I can't pretend everything is normal. I can't just ignore all of this." Taehyun closed the distance between them. His fingers brushed her jaw. Gentle. Careful. Terrifying. "You won't have to." Their eyes locked. "There are two choices," he said quietly. "Leave this house tonight. I'll put you on a plane myself. You'll be safe. This world will never touch you again." Her throat burned. "And the other?" His voice dropped to a whisper that felt like fire against her skin. "Stay." Pause. "With me." Her breath hitched. "It means danger," he warned. "It means enemies, secrets, blood." His thumb dragged softly across her cheek. "It also means I will protect you with every breath I have." Her heart slammed painfully against her chest. "Taehyun." "I won't ask again," he said, voice trembling with the effort to stay controlled. "This is the last moment you get to choose. Before my world takes your choice away forever." He leaned in, forehead touching hers. "Tell me, Camila." His voice was barely a breath. "Do you want to run from me? Another beat. Or do you want me?" Her answer. Camila's mind swirled with everything. The dangers. The blood. The obsession in his eyes. The softness he tried so hard to hide. The way he said her name like a prayer. Her heart already knew. Her lips parted. "I should run," she whispered. Taehyun closed his eyes, as if bracing for impact. "But I'm not going to." His eyes snapped open. "Camila." She lifted her trembling hand and touched his cheek. "I want you," she breathed. "Even